like wildflowers. Oh, with your demons of change.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Reform UK Scotland Conference. Please take your seats. Make sure your mobile phone is either switched to silent or switched off. The event is about to begin.
ladies and gentlemen. Now, here at Reform UK, we pride ourselves on ensuring that we pick the best and the brightest to represent the British people at local, at mayoral and at parliamentary level. Now, our next speaker is one of our female MPs. I like to call her the First Lady of Reform. She likes me to call her ma'am. Yeah, it's absolutely true. She proves that fighting for every single voter at elections pays off. She won that by-election in Runcorn and Helsby by just 6 votes. That is extraordinary. Before we meet her, let's see her story.
It's been such a privilege to have been elected as the Reform Member of Parliament for Runcorn and Helsby. And I will spend the next 4.5 years working as hard as I can to make sure all of the constituents, no matter how they voted, have improvements in their lives. Whatever it is that they need help with, I am there. The reason I joined Reform was because Reform stands for everything that I believe in, and that is family values, it is community values, and it is, of course, being so proud in this great country of ours. And I believe we should be able to shout loudly about that, to fly our Union Jacks. Only a Reform government will reclaim sovereignty for this country, will reclaim control over our borders. Only a Reform government will take back some of the power that our judicial system has. It's become politicised. Only a Reform government will restore our own energy supplies, making costs to businesses lower. These are all the things that people need to get more money in their pockets, for businesses to flourish, for the economy to be strong. These policies are all going to be in our manifesto, but this is the next step towards becoming the next government of the United Kingdom.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sarah Pochin, MP.
Thank you for that lovely welcome. And Dr. David jokes, he calls me Mum, while Lee Anderson calls me the Duchess, so there you go. But I do his ironing for him, so I think that's the only reason he calls me that. But it's just wonderful to be here today. It's such an honour to be here. And every single day that I have been in this job, I pinch myself with the privileged position that I was voted into. And we laugh about the 6 votes. Everyone claims the 6 votes. In fact, I think several of you this morning have said they were your votes. But the fact is we've overturned a 15,000 Labour majority. And we will do it everywhere around the country. Now, I had so much support from Team Scotland to win that by-election, and that's why I wanted very much to come up and be part of this conference today. Oh, my auto cue's frozen. And do you know what? The funny thing is about my auto cue freezing is my Chief of Staff and David Ball will go into a complete panic, because once I start to ad-lib, the press have a field day. So... In fact, we were talking about the Reform tartan then, weren't we, whilst I'm just waiting for my auto cue. And I really wanted to come on in a Reform tartan burqa, but it apparently I just wasn't allowed. Do you know what? One day, let's have one of these events that aren't live streamed, and we'll do it. We'll do all the naughty stuff, we'll do all the bits that have gone wrong, and all the effing and jeffing when we do our pieces to camera and all the rest of it. It'd be hilarious. Anyway, right, my speech is back, so come on, let's get on with the serious stuff. But Reform UK here, north of the border, and under the leadership of Lord Offord, who, by the way, was great company last night. We had a beer and a curry, and it was fab. Because I forgot to tell you this bit as well. I'm sorry, auto cue lady. I'll get back on track. But I had a nightmare getting here. I'm absolutely convinced that Sadiq Khan did not want me to leave London. And either that or the SNP didn't want me to arrive in Glasgow, because I got to the airport. I was virtually strip searched twice. They emptied my bags. They were emptying every piece of makeup. They knew who I was, and I'm not joking. We will be up against that. We can laugh about this, but they wanted to get me to react. They were dreadful at London City Airport, but we're going to face 3 years of this. It's intimidation. They want us to break. We will not break because we're strong. So I stood there and took it. But Reform UK up here in Scotland, under the leadership of Lord Offord and Martin Green, is a force to be reckoned with, and I have no doubt we will get more MPs in the north, as well as everywhere else across the UK, beginning with more members of Parliament in the Scottish Parliament in only 49 days' time, was it, I was told. But the People's Army in England, Wales, and definitely in Scotland is on the move. Up and down the country, decent, hard-working people that we call a long clock Britain, who pay their taxes, have just had enough. And here in Scotland, like everywhere else in the United Kingdom, you are fed up with what has gone before. You have been failed in Scotland by the Labour Party and the SNP, and you deserve better. And a Scottish Reform government will make things better. We have news for the SNP. The People's Army is on the move and it's marching towards Holyrood. We are. Because there's so much to fix here in Scotland, so much that has been neglected. Let me tell you what a Reform government will do for Scotland and do to improve everyday lives of the Scottish people. We're going to restore law and order to your streets, and I very much hope that the whole area of law and order will be something that I will be looking after, and believe me, I'll be taking no prisoners. But joking aside, as we heard earlier from the excellent speakers this morning, sexual assault is at a record high in Scotland, with a reported 16,000 cases in 2025, and rape has increased by 12% last year alone. 1,000 prisoners were released early onto our streets here in Scotland. Shoplifting surged to a record high in 2025, with over 50,000 cases recorded, whilst the SNP cut the number of police officers in Scotland by 1,000 since 2020. Reform will put police back on Scottish streets. Reform will stop the early release of prisoners, and there will be no legalising of drugs, of heroin, under a Reform government. And what of immigration? Scotland has taken nearly 500,000 migrants in the last 20 years. Last year, there were reported 6,350 asylum seekers in Scotland. Glasgow Council is forecast to spend £66 million of your money in 2026 this year on housing asylum seekers. Reform will detain, deport all illegal immigrants in Scotland. Make no mistake, under Zia Youssef and to people like myself, we will absolutely deliver on that. People say, you say that, how are you going to do it? Oh, we will do it. Because we are working already on getting out of the ECHR, repealing all these Human Rights Act bills. We will do it because it is about the will of the government to do it. And by the way, all that money that I've talked about will be spent by Glasgow Council will, of course, be spent on you, on the things that are important to you. Only Reform will prioritise your housing needs. We will tackle the soaring welfare bill. And do you know, in Scotland, that is forecast to increase to nearly £10 billion in 2030. We've got 800,000 people in Scotland who could be in work
but are economically inactive at the end of 2025, these statistics is not sustainable. And this is a massive risk to the Scottish Government's financial position. This country is, whether it is England, Wales or Scotland, going bankrupt. Under the SNP, we've heard some of this talked about passionately this morning. Scotland's oil and gas industry has been destroyed, but reform will rebuild it. The UK uses 1.4 million barrels of oil a day, but we import half of that. Half of that we import. Why? Why? In Scotland, you have the highest average gas and electricity bills in the UK, and yet you are surrounded by, walking on, look out to sea, you're surrounded by energy. But the mad net zero policies of this Labour government have ensured the demise of that industry. Do you know that, think about it this way, every new wind turbine that gets put up by Ed Miliband means that our energy bills go up because of the net zero levies that then attracts. Reform will cancel net zero. Reform will rebuild and restore the oil and gas industry and secure our energy supply, and therefore create jobs and income for Scotland. Now, Scotland has a proud history and a pivotal role. It's played a pivotal role in the defence sector. I talk a lot about defence. It's a subject close to my heart. My dad was in the army, as you know, and I take every opportunity in Parliament to support our veterans. But in Scotland, the naval presence at Faslane is needed now more than ever and needs to receive more support and investment. And the same goes for the RAF Quick Reaction Alert Base at Lossiemouth. Only reform will restore the military presence in Scotland. Only reform will increase defence spending. And all governments talk to increasing it to 3% of GDP, but it needs to be more. We are living in times of unprecedented global insecurity, times that we haven't seen for decades. Clearly, we had the Ukraine, well, we've still got the Ukraine war, but now more than ever, the world is unstable. And as we all know, we can barely send one single warship out there to help. And then, of course, the education sector, which has been mentioned this morning in Scotland. We can't pretend anything other than the SNP has failed Scottish children. Under the SNP, performance in maths and English has fallen consistently for the last 15 years. There is an existential crisis in Scottish schools which needs urgent attention, because if adults fail children in the most basic of provision, how can we expect them to lead prosperous, fulfilling lives, to be upwardly mobile, and to lift themselves out of the poverty that so many are in? And I feel very strongly about this, because I would not be standing here today if it wasn't for education. I moved myself from one place to another. I was the first in my family to go to university. I took every opportunity that came my way, and the only reason I'm here is education. I've got 2 sons of my own, and I am a passionate believer that we are failing children up and down the country at the moment with our education system. And don't get me started. I hosted yesterday a forum about what our children are being taught in schools and the indoctrination of some of our children in schools. Not all schools, but some children. What they are teaching, what they are being taught, is truly shocking. And I will always stand up to stop that happening. And of course, finally, what about the NHS? The NHS total waiting list in Scotland, 800,000 people at the moment, equates to 1 in 6, as Dr. David Bull said, waiting for treatment. It's no wonder, is it, that thousands of Scottish people are being forced to travel elsewhere in the UK looking for treatment. But just like the NHS in Scotland here, it's broken in England, it's broken in Wales. So we need experts like Dr. David Bull to take that on, head it up, and really sort it out. Now, the last thing I should mention, because of course it's one of your most famous industries, is the whisky industry, an industry that employs 40,000 and is worth well over 5 billion. But I have to confess, I have never actually had a glass of whisky. I know, I never have. And you know when you watch things on telly sometimes, and I always think it looks so cool when ladies sort of ask for a whiskey on the rocks. Is that what you do? I don't know. But it always looks very cool. So if anybody in this room wants to educate me in the art of whiskey drinking, then bring it on, because I think I'm probably old enough by now to have had my first glass of whiskey, and it's clearly been a part of my education that has been sorely missing. So I'm in Scotland. Someone get me a glass of whiskey. So just to finish, because I have to finish, otherwise David Ball comes running on and starts pushing me off. So just to say that, look, if you want change, if you want somewhere to pin your hopes for a better future for the people of Scotland, you must vote. Well, we know that you'll vote, but you need to get your friends, your family, your work colleagues, explain what you've seen today, what you've heard today, the authenticity of what we say, the feeling with which we say it, the commitment with which we believe what we're talking about. What I say to you, I say from the heart. I believe truly in what we're saying, and I believe in Nigel Farage, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't have put myself through the gruelling by-election that was Runcorn and Helsby, which of course we won, but only just, but I would do it again, and I would do it anywhere. And we need people like you, so many in this room today, putting themselves forward to be brave. Don't be intimidated. The next 3.5 years, if we have to last that long, are going to be rough. It's going to be a bumpy ride. But I will always lead the way. I will never be silenced. I can't wait for the police to come and arrest me for talking about Islam or something like that. Bring it on, bring it on. So thank you for everything you're doing. We can't do it without people like you, but we will do it. The People's Army is on the move. It's a great phrase. I don't know who thought of that. I think it might have been Lee, actually. But do you know what? It's so true. Up and down the country, the energy, the feeling, the enthusiasm, the hope, and that is what we're going to campaign on. And we will win. We will win. And Nigel Farage will be the next Prime Minister. Thank you.
Sarah, thank you so much. I can't believe you've never drunk whiskey. You need to go for a night out with me and Malcolm Offord, and we will definitely teach you how to drink some fine Scottish whiskey. Well, next up, we have a man I've got to know very well indeed, particularly after that Burns supper. Now, he has a long track record in British politics. From 2021 to 2024, he served as Minister for Scotland, carrying out that role from the House of Lords and playing a key part in representing Scotland at the heart of the UK government. But last year, he made a very significant decision. He chose to put country before career, resigning from the House of Lords so he could take on the role of leader of Reform UK Scotland. Now, that was an incredibly bold move. It's one that shows his commitment to standing up for Scotland, for common sense politics, and for the future of our United Kingdom. He is a very proud Scot. He is a successful businessman and an even prouder unionist. Now, before we meet him, let's see his story.
What Malcolm Offord has done is, I believe, a very brave and principled move. After all, the House of Lords is a club for life, and he's given it all up to stand for reform, and he will lead this party into those elections on May the 7th.
One clear message, one objective. We want to remove this rotten SNP government after 18 years of failure. And this is now a two-horse race between reform and the SNP. Ask yourself the question, have we got a better outcome for our young people in our schools? Have we got more cohesive and safer communities? And do we have an economy that works for everybody? And if the answer to these questions is no, isn't it time for a change? So we're well organised, we're well funded, and we're very well motivated. So it's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
And with this, Lord Offord of Garville becomes Malcolm from Greenock.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, it is my great pleasure to welcome the leader of Reform UK Scotland. Please put your hands together and welcome Malcolm Offord.
What a welcome. Good afternoon, conference. My name is Malcolm Offord, and I'm standing to be First Minister at Holyrood. You know, it's 49 days. 49 days until Scotland decides, and 49 days for us to present our vision of a successful Scotland to the Scottish people. And 49 days to convince the public that reform is the real alternative to this rotten SNP government. You know, for the last 20 years, this country has been governed by politicians who have no ambition to make Scotland successful, because they're professional politicians who've never been in business, never worked an extra shift, never had to make payroll on a Friday. They have punished ambition and aspiration at every turn, raising taxes, trapping people on welfare, allowing bureaucracy to bloat, all while public services crumble. They have badly managed the NHS. Our once world-class education has gone from outstanding to average, and crime, especially sexual assault, is spiralling upwards. They have failed at every turn to protect women and girls. Conference, no longer. On May 7th, we have the opportunity to give a voice to millions of Scots who've been taken for granted. Ordinary, decent, hard-working Scots who get punished for doing the right thing. A voice to those who want to work, to earn more and succeed for themselves and their communities. A voice to women and girls who do not want to fear for their safety. A voice to those who want better healthcare, decent roads, bustling high streets, and to get ideology out of their schools. A voice to those who want better healthcare, decent roads, and a voice to those who are fed up that our most important industries and jobs are being driven away, sacrificed on the high altar of net zero. And a voice to those who are sick to the back teeth of incessant yes versus no, never end them, and who say enough. Who want Holyrood to work for them, to make their daily lives better, and to do that right now. So, yesterday, I was down in Greenock, my hometown. It was a great honour. I was there to submit my nomination papers at the municipal buildings, a building I know very well from growing up there. And, of course, the question is, who is this Malcolm from Greenock, and why Greenock? And the answer is my grandfather. So I'm a product of two grandfathers, one a proud Englishman from Portsmouth, the other a proud Aberdeenshire man with the Doric. And my English grandfather was a working class boy. His family were Jack Tars down in Portsmouth. He was a bright lad, left school at 14, and he got himself into the engineering stream in the Royal Naval Dockyard in Portsmouth. He then got this dream posting with his wife and two young sons, my father and my uncle, to Hong Kong. And he was in the Royal Dockyard in Hong Kong, living the life. There's still these grainy black and white photographs of them in Kowloon Zoo having a wonderful time, moving in that lovely world of Hong Kong. And then the war broke out, 1939, a letter delivered to the house in Hong Kong, saying you have to come home. Apparently my grandmother was in tears. She was living that life out in Hong Kong. But she consoled herself by saying, well, at least I'm heading back home to Portsmouth. The last line of the letter said, and you'll be posted to Greenock on the River Clyde. So after consulting with the map, off they went to Greenock. And why Greenock? Because there was a munitions factory, and if those who know Greenock, it's called the Battery Park, still down there. My grandfather was trying to work out, he was using gyroscopes, trying to work out how to make torpedoes move in the water using gyroscope systems. And that's why I grew up in Greenock. My father and uncle were there. I went to school there. My local primary school, Gown Primary, then to Greenock Academy. And then where I got a world-class education, absolutely fantastic, went to Edinburgh University. And then I discovered that I had something inside me. I was ambitious. I was driven, wanted to prove myself. And, you know, I was what you might call a lad of parts. And to quote that phrase, Dr. Johnson, you know, back in the day, there's no finer sight than a Scotsman on the high road to England. And I wanted to get to where the money was. And Big Bang had happened in 1986, and I didn't want to be a lawyer. I decided that. And so I thought, I'm going to try something different. And off I went to London. And I arrived there, as I say, I knew one person. I slept on this pal of mine from Paisley. I slept on his floor. And off I went on my journey, driven by this desire to be successful, but absolutely rock solid in the knowledge that I was a proud Scot from a good town, had been given a great education, and nothing was going to hold me back. And that is the sort of pride and determination and drive that I had, and many like me in my generation coming out of Greenock. At that time, the town was deindustrializing. We all had to leave to go to jobs around the world. There's a lot of successful people came out of that. But I think that's really what I'm trying to instill in this conversation that we have for Reform UK, which is that drive and ambition that I used perhaps to begin with for myself and for my family. And I want to use that to make Scotland successful. The drive and ambition I have is to make Scotland successful. Scotland, I believe, is underperforming, and I feel that it's incumbent upon us to change that. And it's time now for Reform UK in Scotland to unleash Scotland's potential. Now, getting into politics from a business career, sometimes not the easiest thing to do. I've been in it for 5 years. And one of the policies that came to my attention quite early on when I was in the Scotland office was this thing about energy and net zero. And this is perhaps the most egregious example of how policy can go wrong. And it's gone wrong across all the parties, whether it's the Labour Party who started it, the Conservative Party who compounded it, and the SNP who've consolidated it. And basically, what we've done to ourselves in shutting down North Sea oil and gas is the biggest act of self-harm. And surely this week of all weeks, as we see the oil price spiking through $115, we can recognise that. But just in terms of my own journey, I mean, I made my maiden speech on the 20th of January, 2022, in the House of Lords. I was just a newly minted minister in the Scotland office, working with Alistair Jack. And I was just shortly off to the COP26 in Glasgow. And the Conservative lines were, the transition is a good thing, the just transition. The Conservative Party had put through the net zero target and put that into law. Theresa May's government had done that. So I gave the line, and I was perfectly, without knowing the subject particularly well, it seemed like a good idea, let's have this transition. Well, you know, 5 years later, I gave a speech, 3 years later, I gave a speech on the 3rd of April 2025 in the House of Lords, where I basically stood up and said that this net zero was a mistake, was doing great harm to our country, and should be reversed. And the biggest darts I had in my back were ones from my own side. Because the architects of this in the Conservative Party could not accept that they have to wind that back. And that is why Reform has to do that. And for those who say to me, well, Malcolm, you seem to have changed your tune on that, I would simply quote to them John Maynard Keynes. Remember when he said, when the facts change, I change my mind. What actually happened was, in opposition, I did the work to find out what had really gone on in energy. I peeled back the onion to discover that our energy costs are 7 times more expensive than China and 4 times more expensive than the USA, that we import 70% of our gas from Norway, from Norwegian oil fields over the fence from the ones in the North Sea that we've shut down, Even the Norwegian Energy Minister thinks that's daft. That as we look around our landscape, we see the wind turbines, not a single blade made in Scotland. Please try and explain what a just transition looks like to people in Aberdeen or in Grangemouth. It's just not possible to explain it away. And so therefore, I think a major element of that decision for me, obviously, was coming on the back of the energy brief. And we know, I'm about to hear, obviously, from Nigel, that Reform UK is fundamentally pledged to reverse the madness of net zero. And Nigel is fundamentally pledged to cut energy bills for the ordinary people of this country. But it's not just in energy where Scots are being punished by the SNP. Scots who want more for themselves, for their families, for their communities in Scotland are now being made to pay the highest taxes anywhere else in the UK. Why are council taxes across Scotland in 2 weeks' time about to go up by more than inflation? Why are families in Glasgow and Edinburgh and the bigger cities to be saddled with even higher new council tax bans, taxes that will hit families and pensioners? Not so much a mansion tax, much more a terrace tax. Why are business rate valuations about to rise in 2 weeks' time on average by 12%, just when rents and energy bills and the cost of labour have also risen? And why are business rates so much higher anyway than in England? And for that matter, across every single band. Why is LBTT so needlessly high? Punishing young Scots for moving closer to opportunities, punishing families for having children, and pensioners for downsizing to make room for them. Why are income taxes for teachers, police officers, nurses and doctors all so much higher than in England? And now we hear the SNP say they'd also like to confiscate some of their hard-earned savings too. No wonder those with the broadest shoulders are now shrugging their shoulders. Because the exam question is, for all this spend on your behalf, taken from your pockets, from your hard work, the question is, are our public services better? Yes or no? Are our public sector better? No. No. We have a record amount of spending and we don't have a reward for it. That is what Reform UK must change. Now, by their own admission, over the last 10 years, certainly the last 20 years, but certainly the last 10 years, the SNP have used an expression to say that they've built something called a welfare economy. Ladies and gentlemen, what we need to do is to create a wealth economy. We have 5.5 million population. We've got 3.6 million Scots of working age. And they break down into three groups. We have 1 million who don't work. We have 600,000 in the public sector, and we have 2 million who work in the private sector. And what has happened here is we've got the balance is now wrong between welfare and work. If you choose to work, you should always have more in your pocket at the end of the week. Now, there are those in our community who cannot work. And we must always look after those. And in fact, if you look at the million who do not work, and we were to take out, for example, the students, the early retirees, the adult carers, the long-term disabled, there's probably about 500,000 that quite genuinely need to be looked after and will always be looked after in a compassionate society. But we have 500,000 of our neighbours and friends who perhaps have fallen out of the way of work, who have actually been stuck on welfare. And of course, welfare has been a good safety net, but we've got an issue now where the balance between those in the street who don't work and those who choose to get out of bed and go work 35 hours is now wrong. And what we need to do is help our folk back to work. For this reason, the best welfare we can give anybody is a job. And of course, the welfare economy is also been good for the public sector, and they do a lot of important jobs. But they have had 20 years of upward-only salary increases, no redundancy, and still holding on to final salary pension schemes that went in the private sector a long time ago. The reality is that 2 million who work in the private sector are now being paid less than those in the public sector, and I think the big emphasis for reform in the next 10 years is to grow the private sector, and that is what we shall focus on. You know, we have an opportunity to build a new economy. In Scotland, we're extraordinarily lucky to have natural centres of excellence, sectors where we excel because of our geography, because of our scientists, because of our heritage, because of our creative and smart people. Just running through them, we've got financial services, we have advanced manufacturing, we have energy, obviously, we have food and drink, we have hospitality and tourism, we have creative industries, we have life sciences, we have agri, we have fisheries and marine. And those sectors of Scottish excellence, where we're generally working, take, for example, life sciences, just pick one. Life sciences, we're third in the world. Our Scottish universities cluster in life sciences. We're third after MIT and Cambridge. That's extraordinary. So we have great strength and depth. And they are across the whole country. They're not just in Edinburgh and Glasgow. These are industries that cover the whole of Scotland. We now to rebalance our economy and our education system and our technical training and our third sector colleges to get our young people focused into those natural centres of excellence, to rebuild a modern economy which pays good wages, where work will always pay more than not to work. So that's why our first priority in our manifesto today, and you've seen that, we've now got that published today. I think we're the first of the parties to now come out with our manifesto. Of course, we were told that we didn't have any policies, we didn't have any candidates. Well, I think we're going to knock that on the head quite well today. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut taxes. Scots are overtaxed. Scots are overtaxed, overregulated, and it's just a continual process of hitting those with the broadest shoulders. So, here's the plan. We've got ourselves in a ridiculous situation in Scotland where we've now got 6 separate income tax bands, which is creating all sorts of disincentives. The law of unintended consequences, it's creating a lot of disincentive in the workplace. So we're going to cut those back to the 3 in the rest of the UK and align back to the 3 bands. And then we're going to cut them all by 1p below. So if you work in Scotland, you'll pay 1p less in each band than you do in England. Now, the cost of this is $2 billion. It costs $1.2 billion to align the 6 bands to 3, and then each 1p cut costs $800 billion. So it's £2 billion. And so, of course, all the commentators say, where are you getting the £2 billion from? That's impossible. How are you going to, what services are you going to cut? Look, the reality is that $2 billion is 3% of the Holyrood budget. So we can find that 3% without any need to cut frontline services to achieve these savings. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask the hall here, how many of you in this hall are involved in some way with business? Please put your hands up. Now, if I said to you overnight, keep your hands up, if I said to you overnight, I want you to find 3% cuts in your cost base but keep the business stable at the top line. If you think you could not cut by 3%, please put your hand down. So, I don't see any hands going down. Everybody who's in business knows that you can cut probably up to 5% of your costs without affecting frontline services. And the great irony of this, if we talk to our councillor friends in the various town councils, every year Holyrood asks the town councils, asks the local authorities to cut their budgets by 5%. Well, you know what? We're going to do Pac-Man here. We're going to reverse it. We're going to push it back up to Holyrood, and we're going to say, you cut your costs by 3%. And by doing that, we can immediately back ambition by putting that money straight back into people's pockets, who will always do more with it and spend it better than any government can. And that, by doing that, by cutting it by 1p, Scotland then would become the most competitive tax regime in the UK. And of course, our objective is to make Scotland the best place to live and work in the UK. And if Nigel was here, I'd say, Nigel, watch out, we're coming after you. But this doesn't mean just backing ambitious Scots who run businesses and work in the private sector. It also means an immediate pay rise across our public services too, rewarding those with experience, encouraging them to no longer cut back their hours or retire early, and allowing us more easily to hire to fill the gaps. So, for example, it means that a teacher with 5 years' experience takes home an extra £2,000 a year. A newly promoted police sergeant takes home an extra £2,100 a year. A hospital consultant with a year's experience takes home an extra £5,200 a year. These are not small sums, and they're rewarding frontline work across the board. And here's the thing, especially in our NHS, we know that as nurses are being dragged up into higher tax bands, as we've now got 6 bands where if you go across the band, you lose, not only do you pay more tax, you also lose some of your other benefits in return and pay very higher marginal tax rates. We've got a productive issue and amongst our brilliant nurses and doctors who are now managing their workflow to make sure they don't do the extra hour in order to not be caught. If we can eliminate this and immediately put money back into people's pockets, they will go the extra mile because that's the sort of people that they are. So, conference, look, this is just the beginning of our plan to create a new wealth economy which provides world-class services for all. We will also implement a new deal for local government, putting them on a firm financial footing by restoring local control over spending rather than saddling them with unfunded obligations from Holyrood. It's one of the great mysteries to me that the SNP government continually cry for more devolution, more powers, please, from London, more powers in London. When they arrive in Edinburgh, they get stuck in Edinburgh. They don't go down the line to local communities. On NHS Scotland, there is no silver bullet. However, with 20 billion of funding, the NHS is not short of funding. What is required is better management to produce better outcomes for patients. But this will need to be done on a consensual basis with the medical profession, and that's why we'll immediately establish an independent expert Scottish Healthcare Reform Commission to undertake an ambitious review of healthcare delivery with action plans on very specific things. So, for example, a workforce plan to train more doctors and nurses, dealing with the delayed discharge to increase hospital efficiency, optimising the integration of social adult care, and shifting to prevention strategies around our persistent health inequalities, and most important of all, expansion of frontline services in the community and in GP surgeries. Reform in Scotland will get NHS Scotland focused on patients, not on managers. Our schools. Our state schools are in crisis. Out of just 700,000 children of school age in Scotland, 1/3 don't attend school regularly. This is a staggering statistic. Surely we can just all agree now that something has gone badly wrong in our schools. Parents are disillusioned with the curriculum for excellence, and in special needs provision, the SNP policy of inclusion has been exposed as an illusion. Head teachers are discouraged to exclude disruptive pupils and not control their school budgets or their teacher recruitment choices. Staff morale is at an all-time low, and the attainment gap between rich and poor pupils is widening. Reform will reboot the curriculum for excellence with a knowledge-based core, restore rigorous exams and standardised testing, and rejoin all the international educational surveys so Scotland's performance can be properly measured. How can we possibly have allowed our education to go from outstanding to average? Staggers me. Head teachers will be able to regain control of their budgets and hiring. Mobile phones will be banned in classrooms. And all secondary schools will be able to apply for the Jordan Hill-style self-governance model. Reform will restore Scottish education to world class. Conference, when I joined Reform UK a few months ago, by my own admission, it was not primarily because of immigration. My focus has first and foremost always been about making Scotland the most successful part of the UK, a nation that rewards ambition and work and reaps the benefit through higher incomes and better public services. But since acknowledging that immigration is now a top 3 issue of concern for Scots, I have taken the time to see with my own eyes why a growing number of Scots are so fed up about immigration, especially in our working class communities. That's why I did the overnight check-in at the homeless shelter in Glasgow, and a big shout out in the hall today for Colin and Lewis, who looked after me. Where are you guys? Good to see you. Doing an amazing job. You must talk to them afterwards to understand what they do. They have 30 beds in that hostel in Glasgow Street. I did the check-in for 12, but of that evening, of the 30, only 2 were local Glaswegians that came in that evening. I also walked the city streets late at night with a group of volunteers called North to South, concerned about people's safety in the city after dark. At this point, I should apologise to the volunteers at North to South, who have been unfairly smeared by the press as vigilantes. They are volunteers, mums and dads, who walk around the city centre in high-vis jackets in full view of the police, unarmed and with first aid on hand to help local people get home safely after a night out. They must hold protecting vulnerable groups, scheme memberships, and undergo disclosure checks in order to volunteer. North to South are as much vigilantes as the Neighbourhood Watch, street pastors, or countless volunteers who assist the vulnerable. But conference, the fact that this group of volunteers exists today, as I said, local mums and dads, tells us we have a problem. To ignore this is to gaslight the local population. The reality is that this is a symptom of an underlying problem, with police overstretched to deal with a record number of strangers coming to Glasgow with different cultures and values to our own, making the city less safe for women and girls. Why has this been ignored by the Hollywood bubble when polling makes it a top 3 issue of concerns for Scottish voters? The Scottish Government's own data is crystal clear. Cases of sexual assaults are on the rise, with cases of rape and attempted rape up by 26% in the last 5 years. These are crimes that disproportionately affect women and girls. In the meantime, local people are rightly aggrieved when they see priority given in services, especially in housing, being given to strangers who have just arrived. This is a direct consequence of the SNP policy in 2022 to drop the local connection rule, which required local councillors to give priority in housing to local people first. Conference, I say right here and now, Reform will immediately reinstate the local connection rule to give priority of services to local people. Local people are tired of their concerns being brushed under the carpet because politicians and the media find it uncomfortable to talk about this. So I will not hold my tongue because they deserve to be heard. The people of Scotland need to know that it's only Reform who will close this idiotic loophole that's allowing people who have never so much as visited Scotland before to claim taxpayer-funded accommodation at ever-growing expense, putting our social housing under pressure and allowing strangers to skip the queue ahead of residents who need it most. This is an injustice which a Reform government will immediately end. So, conference. Scotland is now at a crossroads. And the Holyrood election is the most critical we have had in 20 years. Under the SNP's failed government, all we've got in Scotland is mid-table mediocrity. The sad reality, and I hate to say this as a proud Scot, but I have to accept it, the sad reality is that Scotland is broken. But it doesn't need to be this way. I know that all of you are just as ambitious as I am to put Scotland back at the top of the table, to make Scotland the most successful part of the UK. It will take 10 years to achieve this. So let's put aside all the rancour, grievance and division promoted by the SNP. Let all Scots unite around this common aim to make Scotland the best country to live and work in the world. This is a Scotland where 3 million people work to provide for 2.5 million who can't. A balanced society where work is cool, where work is rewarded and always pays more than welfare. Where our young people are channeled into meaningful jobs straight from education. And we reskill our adults back into work in our 10 centres of excellence located around the whole of Scotland, not just the big cities. Where we repopulate our town centres with working families and affordable housing. Or where our towns and city centres are bustling once again with activity and civic pride. Where we have the most competitive tax rates in the UK, which allow our creative and innovative people to be productive and solve problems in their local communities without interference from Hollywood. Where we restore our schools and hospitals, once again, to world class, where our economy goes at 3% rather than a measly 1% per annum, and where our communities are cohesive and integrated, where Scots are happier, healthier and wealthier. That is my ambition for Scotland. And that is why I gave up my lifetime cosy seat in the House of Lords. And that's why I wish to serve the people of Scotland as First Minister in Holyrood. Conference Reform UK is a remarkable movement of ordinary, decent, hard-working Scots who've had enough of the status quo and who demand change. We'll get 49 days until Scotland decides, and we're in second place in 54 out of 73 constituencies. We're told we've got no policies. Well, here we have them. And you're about to meet 73 candidates. So we got that as well. So we're in good shape. We've got 49 days to spread the message of hope to every corner of the country, from Wick to Wigton and everywhere in between, so we can finally turn the corner on 2 decades of national decline. Conference, I leave you with this call to action as you head home to your own constituencies. For change, for hope, vote reform. Thank you very much. Come forward here. Thank you very much.
Super. Malcolm, thank you so much for such a passionate speech. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us nicely to our final speaker. The question is, who could that possibly be, I wonder? Well, he's a man who needs literally no introduction. He's arguably the most famous politician in this country, if not the world. His career, well, it's long, it's distinguished, and it's most certainly varied, let me tell you. Thanks to I'm a Celebrity, he's gained a whole legion of new, young supporters. There isn't much of this man I haven't seen, let me just tell you. And this man also has never shied away from a fight. He took on Nat West, didn't he? And he won. He then went on. He took on YouGov, and he won. And let me tell you, at the next election, he will take on the establishment, and he will win. And ladies and gentlemen, soon he will make history again when he becomes the next British Prime Minister. Now, just before we meet him, let's remind ourselves of his story.
We are all ships rising on a turquoise tide, headed towards winning the next general election. This government is deep in crisis. They are not fit to govern. The Conservative Party are riven. There is a new, strong, unified party, the party that stands up for decent, working people, and we are the party on the rise. The energy has been unbelievable. The enthusiasm has been extraordinary. You are the people's army.
Reform is now in government. And the big shout-out message, and it's very, very clear, is if you vote reform, you get reform. And when it comes to country, of what a nation is, this is where I do personally want to confront the Prime Minister head on.
No one cares more about the state of this country than I do.
There is nobody more determined than me.
But I tell you what, folks, that was just the beginning. Thank you very much indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage MP.
Good afternoon, Scotland! Now, if you oh, have a look, you need a haircut, mate. You need a haircut. Well, yeah, you do. Wow. Go back to work. No, sorry, you haven't got a job, have you? Well, there you are. Those that don't work have plenty of time to come and protest, don't they? I bet you he's not self-employed running his own business, is he? I bet he doesn't understand what government at all levels has put on hard-working people in this country, the highest ever level of taxes during the lowest period of growth, where people work longer hours than they ever had to, and where often their next-door neighbours rise at midday, have Deliveroo come and smoke dope for the afternoon. And you know what? That is exactly what Malcolm was just talking about. We have, frankly, and it's been going on for years, by freezing tax thresholds and much else, by punishing those that are self-employed or run small businesses, we've become a country where work for many people, frankly, doesn't pay. And we are the party of Alarm Clock Britain. We are the party of people who get up in the morning, go to work, do their bit, pay their taxes, believe in our nation, defend its culture, and frankly, we're all they've got left. I actually can't think of a time when we had a worse Prime Minister than Keir Starmer. The guy is a disaster.
And as we go through a period of both national and very extreme international crises, I think the energy crisis should now be the biggest wake-up call that Scotland and the North Sea have ever had. Just think about this. Last year, on the other half of the North Sea, in exactly the same fields, the Norwegians drilled 49 new wells. 49 new wells for gas and oil as part of a projected 250 that they intend to develop over the course of the next few years. How many new wells opened up on our side of the North Sea? 0. And how many will open up this year? 0. We charge 78% super taxes on any profits a prospector makes. We refuse to open up licences, and we are not self-sufficient, which we ought to be in oil and gas. And you know something? We open up the North Sea. We create here in Scotland thousands of well-paid jobs, better revenue for the Exchequer, and with gas, cheaper energy prices for every household and every business in this nation. And yet, we're the only people that can stand and say this, because it was the Conservative government nationally that went down the net zero route. Boris. It's hard not to laugh, isn't it, really? We're going to be the Saudi Arabia of wind. Remember all that? And now we've got Red Ed Miliband and an SNP who, under Alex Salmond, the SNP recognised that oil was a very important strategic asset for Scotland, but they now believe that somehow Chinese-made wind turbines will solve Scotland's future. Through a result of net zero lunacy, we have closed down the North Sea, and we've given ourselves the highest industrial energy prices in the world. And you wonder why the country is deindustrialising. We've learnt today that the last primary steelmaker in the United Kingdom, the last one in Scunthorpe, will now be closing. We will be the only major Western country that does not produce primary steel. Why? Because the energy price is too high. I met Jim Ratcliffe recently. Grangemouth, barely surviving, and yet his firm about to make a £3 billion investment in North America, where his energy price will be a quarter or less of what he's currently paying. We are committing economic harry-carry in the name of saving the planet, when actually what we're doing is exporting carbon emissions for the goods to be made in India and then shipped back to us. And they're all part of it. They're all part of the sameness of Holyrood, aren't they? They all agree. They all agree on net zero. They all agree in their own great virtues. Well, we agree in opening up the North Sea, getting Scotland working again, getting Scotland cheaper energy. And you know what? After this election and all the ones to come, we're the only ones that will deliver good, plain, common sense and a better way of life for everybody. And we are the only people who will stand up and defend British culture. Malcolm mentioned at the end immigration as an issue. There was a myth for years that no one in Scotland cared about immigration. But it's just not true, is it? It's just not true. I mean, not only is Glasgow now the asylum capital of the United Kingdom, but Holyrood have even passed a law in favour of it. They seem to think that you want young men from Afghanistan who come by boat across the English Channel to get privileges that ex-servicemen living rough on the streets of Glasgow can't have.
Well, we know where we stand, and we stand with our people, not those who enter Britain illegally. And mass migration. The Boris wave. 3 million people came in under Boris. Now, if they were all accountants or brain surgeons who fully integrated in our culture, we might not have a problem. But guess what? Only 20% of the 3 million came on work permits. Many of the others will never work in this country and live after a brief period on benefits for the rest of their lives. And if they've come from a subcontinent, they've come from a Commonwealth country, they have the right to vote in general elections on day one. And we are now seeing sectarianism have a massive effect on British politics. Now, I put it to you that what happened in Trafalgar Square this week should act as a wake-up call and a warning to everybody. We have always been a country that believes in religious tolerance. We've always been open to those of different faiths, persuasions, and beliefs coming to our country and having their own private observance, but integrating publicly. And I think, to be honest, the Jewish community is probably the best example I can think of that. But mass public praying, mass chanting of Islamic slogans in Trafalgar Square was a shock, until you learn that the same group, the Ramadan Tent Project, have done it in Coventry Cathedral. They've done it in London's Guildhall. They've done it in the Victoria and Albert Museum. Folks, if it hasn't come to Scotland yet, it will come soon. This is an open, deliberate, willful attempt, not at the private observance of a different religion, but the attempt to overtake, intimidate, and dominate our way of life. And it is funded by the taxpayer. £44 million last year of taxpayers' money went to fund projects like this. Now, we are fair, reasonable, tolerant people, but we will not put up with this, and we will, as a party, stand firm for the Judeo-Christian principles upon which our nation was built. Now, saying that Starmer is the worst Prime Minister in history, Scotland has had a succession of First Ministers from whom it's difficult to pick which was the worst one. What is of no doubt is that Scotland is in a very bad way. The economics, the education, the health delivery, the drug deaths, whichever way we look, we see social decline. And we have to offer young people in Scotland hope, belief that going on benefits is not the way forward, belief that learning proper trades and skills from the age of 16 is the way for so many to succeed, but only by reindustrialising, only by getting cheaper energy, only by beginning to change the culture that exists in too much of lowland Scotland can we achieve these things. And the manifesto that has been put to you today is a bold attempt to make a start at making Scotland competitive again, at making Scotland economically attractive again. And I think Malcolm was very frank when he said it is a 10-year project. You cannot turn around chronic problems like this literally overnight. But goodness me, this is needed. The consensus that has built up in Holyrood around most major policies has frankly made the parties virtually indistinguishable over the course of the last few years. This election is going to be different. And I'll tell you why it's going to be different. It's the fellow sitting over there, who is unafraid to challenge the Holyrood consensus, unafraid to challenge the cosy club that has built up around Holyrood, around the Quangos, around much of the media, around almost the entirety of the political class. He's prepared to stand up on your behalf and challenge all of that. And already we can see with his every pronouncement, they're going potty. Offered derangement syndrome has set in to Scottish politics. Well, all I can say is good. Good because it means it takes the pressure off me. And good because it's high time that somebody dropped a rock in the pool and started a proper debate about what is going wrong in Scotland and what the answers and the solutions may be offered on your behalf with our candidates. We'll do that over the course of the next 7 weeks, where we will establish a big number in Holyrood. We'll become the official opposition, and who knows? Who knows? If it catches fire, who knows what we might be capable of. So I want to say, my reception in Scotland seems to get better with each year that goes by. There was a moment some years ago when confronted by a bunch of nationalist yobs in the street, all of them with very wide pupils. I could never work out quite why that might have been. And the Edinburgh police locked me in a pub for the afternoon for my safety. How about that? There were a couple of old boys in the corner said it's the best thing's happened in this boozer in 40 years. Scottish politics, up until this point, has been very, very hostile to any other voice. They may go on being hostile to our other voice, but you know something? Now they can't stop us. And I'll be here with you repeatedly, supporting our candidates, supporting Malcolm, supporting this campaign between now and the 7th of May. And I'm pleased and honoured to have been able to join you this afternoon at this manifesto launch. Thank you very much indeed. Let's hold a manifesto up. Yeah, great. Yes. Everybody happy? Never happy. Never happy? You want to join Reform? We're all very happy, aren't we? Right. We have got to take some press questions before our finale. We've got lots of them, so Malcolm, we're going to have to rattle through. Yep. Okay, we're going to begin with Tony Maguire, GB News.
Good afternoon, Nigel and Malcolm. I just wanted to ask you a bit more of a national story to kick us off here. Sadiq Khan has told an Italian newspaper that he wants Labour to pledge to rejoin the EU if they win the next general election. Just wanted your thoughts on that, but also perhaps how should the SNP take that? Because they've been told for 10 years now not that they've been shut down any opportunity to revisit their referendum.
If the SNP were a nationalist party that believed in the independence of Scotland, they would not wish to leave the UK and hand it over to Brussels and join the euro. They're a bunch of hypocrites and need to be exposed as such. As for Khan, As for Khan, Rachel Reeves, all of them, they haven't got the imagination. They can't see the world's moved on. Why would we rejoin a bunch of economies, many of whom are doing even worse than we are, and shackle ourselves to them? It's complete madness. It won't fly. And by the way, we've got Lila Cunningham taking on Sadiq Khan as Mayor of London in 2028. And he will be out. He'll be out. Glenn Campbell, BBC Scotland. Oh, come on, give him a break. Give him a break.
It's nice to feel that warm welcome. Nigel Farage, when you see the sharp spike in energy prices, do you regret saying that the UK should stand by America in the action against Iran?
The action against Iran was a decision taken by the Americans and the Israelis. We weren't part of it. I wasn't part of it. But you know something, in life you have to pick a side. And I think to have forbidden the Americans from using Diego Garcia, for example, was a terrible mistake. A terrible mistake. And we don't have to agree with everything America does. We don't have to join the offensive. I mean, how could we? It's now 19 days since a sovereign base was attacked in Cyprus, and not a single Royal Naval vessel has yet arrived. So we should support them. I'm not suggesting getting involved in the war. We're too weak and puny, even if we wanted to. But if we cast America off completely, our islands are defenceless. That is the point I'm making. Thank you very much indeed. Come in anytime you want, Michael. We'll try and wrap this through. Ewan Petrie from STV. This is like a pantomime, isn't it?
Merry Christmas, Mr. Farage. My question is about timing today. Your conference began at exactly the same time as First Minister's questions. The Holyrood Parliament was also referred to this morning as a concrete jungle. Isn't that displaying a level of contempt for a parliament to which you are hoping to get members elected?
Oh, I'm very good at that. I expressed lots of contempt for the European Parliament, but in 2019 we became the biggest party in the whole of Europe. Look, to a large extent, the timings of this today were around my schedule, travelling right across the United Kingdom. There was no direct disrespect to the institution meant, but we do believe it needs reform, Malcolm.
We need to reform Holyrood. There is a cosy consensus there, and what reform wants to do is get in there to represent ordinary people. And the reality is that Holyrood is not delivered. Holyrood's been going for 25 years, and just get this single stat on this. When devolution started in 1999, the spending in Scotland's percentage of GDP was 43%. Today, 25 years later, Holyrood is spending 55% of GDP. Are our public services better?
I think that answers it. Peter Smith, ITV News. It's pretty simple, really. It's terrible, really.
Thank you. Mr. Farage, you have spent years telling voters in England that the Barnett formula is unfair because it gives the Scots too much money. You've promised them that you will fix that. Is that a message that you will be delivering on the doorsteps of Dundee and Glasgow in this election? And if so, can we come and film you telling people that the Scots get too much money and that Reform plan to change that? A question for Mr. Offord. The man beside you is committing to his English base that there will be less money sent to Scotland. You're promising the Scottish voters you'll cut £2 billion in tax. How are we going to fund the public services that this underpins, the police, the NHS in Scotland, the schools?
Within a few years of a Reform government in Holyrood, you won't need the current Barnett formula because Scotland will have been turned around. And even the culture of saying we must get more and more and more from central government, if you think about it, it's the wrong mindset. It's the wrong mindset. Yes, of course, individuals go through bad times, countries go through bad times, but welfare, spending should not be permanent. There are massive economic opportunities in Scotland, firstly in the North Sea. I also believe financial services in Edinburgh could be a lot bigger with the right thinking than it is. So look, we as national government would be here to support Scotland, but we'd much rather see Scotland not need the money because it's succeeded. And our message is one about hope. Good.
I'll just deal with it.
Yeah.
So on the question of how Scotland is financed, you know the JERS report comes out every year. We know that's an accurate reflection of Scotland's finances. In the last JERS report, it states that we spend in Scotland 117.5 billion, and we raise in taxes 87.3. That means we've got a 30 billion deficit paid for through the block grant. Now, that equates to 12% of GDP, and John Swinney is telling his supporters he wants to join the EU when the EU demand a 3% maximum deficit. If you want to see cuts, the amount of cuts that if they join the EU, Scotland would demand would be 20 billion. We're looking for 2 billion of cuts, and we know we can get that from a concept of breaking down ideological spend on environmental, and we know we're spending 6.5 billion, 132 unaccountable quangos. We know that we can find 3% of the Hollywood budget. And this is the thing, that when we put that money into £2 billion pound cut, we will over 10 years, we can earn 8 billion back. And that is how we'll fix the deficit in Scotland, which the SNP refused to acknowledge.
James Cook from BBC News.
Thanks very much, Mr Farage. Good afternoon. For one question to yourself, Mr Farage, if I may. Why should the people of England pay higher taxes than the people of Scotland? And for Malcolm Offord, your manifesto here says you are against rancour and division, and yet you stood there dividing the people of Glasgow into locals and strangers. Is that not simply stirring up rancour and division?
You go first. You go first.
Whether you like it or not, from the BBC, you need to go and visit our working class communities to find people are upset, scared, divided, and no longer cohesive. It's not something we're making up. Glasgow has got a fantastic track record of integration, of immigration over 75 years. Am I correct? Okay? But what we have not had is in 5 years a sudden influx of men from countries that most of us have never been to, where they don't speak English, and we know that they've come to Glasgow because the local connection rule is broken. They will get free food and lodgings in Glasgow they can't get in England. That is not fair on local people. That is not divisive. We're trying to do the opposite. We want cohesive communities.
In successful economies like America, which is growing at 4% a year compared to our just about zero, different states charge different rates of taxes. It's called competition. There was a Scot called Adam Smith a few years ago, and this is the 250th year of his book, funny enough, who understood that competition is good. If we in Scotland were to become more competitive, or you in Scotland, I should say, become more competitive than us in England, the English will moan and say, why can't we have this too? So I think it's a very, very good thing. And if Scotland becomes, through its own common sense and good budget management, more competitive as a place to be than England, then very, very good luck to you. Thank you. Catherine Sampson, Channel 4.
Malcolm Offord, you said at the start of this you want to be the next First Minister. Mr Farage, you then said you want reform to become the official opposition. There appears to be an ambition gap here. Is that because winning would actually be the worst thing that could happen to reform in Scotland because you'll be forced to deliver?
No, it's simply, Catherine, because I'm so modest, shy and understated in virtually everything that I do, and I never like to oversell. I like to undersell and overdeliver. And I genuinely think that there is an energy and an enthusiasm and a sense of optimism about what we're offering and what we want to have debated, and I think we really could surprise you. And that's all I'm going to say on the subject. Thank you. David Walker, Scottish Daily Express.
Hi both. First, a couple of questions for you, Nigel. You suggested in your speech that the Islamic chanting you see at Trafalgar Square will come to Scotland. Could you please expand on that a wee bit? Ways are going to happen and why? And John Swinney suggested that the Reform voters and anti-immigration people are racist. What's your thoughts on that? And Malcolm, in your manifesto you said you're going to reduce the number of MSPs. Why would you do that? Why would you reduce the number of MSPs?
Look, the Muslim Brotherhood, which is prescribed in most Arab countries in the world, is still allowed to flourish in this country. It has an agenda, a dangerous agenda, which is they don't want to adopt or integrate with our way of life. They want to impose their way of life on us. And what you saw in Trafalgar Square, what you've seen in Coventry, are examples of that. I promise you, if it's happening in the Midlands, Scotland is not far behind. And I want to say this. The attempt, really since Blair's time, to shut down any rational debate about immigration, population explosion, or culture, the attempt to shut it down by screaming racist, do you know what? It doesn't work anymore. No one's listening.
On the Holyrood question, everybody in this room knows that Holyrood is underperforming for the Scottish people. Now, Holyrood has got control over devolved matters, and Westminster looks after reserved matters. Okay, and 80% of daily life in Scotland is influenced by Holyrood. Let me ask you this question. What percentage of Holyrood debating time is given to devolved matters, the schools, the hospitals, the roads, instead of ridiculous debates on international matters or reserved matters to London? Holyrood needs reform.
Very good point. Justin Bowie, Press and Journal.
Thanks, both. A question also covering the Courier. Nigel, your comments were brought up regarding the tightening of handgun laws after the Dunblane tragedy recently. Given it's 30 years on from that and it's been brought up recently, do you regret your comments at the time, and would you stand by your views that those comments were knee-jerk? Or sorry, that the laws were knee-jerk?
No, we should ban everything. Let's ban everything. All I said was, I thought it was ludicrous that the British Olympic shooting team had to go to Calais to practice when we have armories all over this country where guns of all kinds could perfectly safely be kept and used. After all, our forces have them under lock and key, and the public have no access to them. But this is, I'm afraid, the world we're living in. We're living in a world where politicians think their job is to make government bigger, taxes higher, and control of every aspect of our lives, frankly, in many cases, taken away from us. On to Mark McLaughlin, the Scottish Sun.
Good afternoon. You spoke earlier and you said that Scotland was a tolerant society. On the front page of the Scottish Sun today, we have someone promoting terrorism, but it was Paolo Nutini saying up the Ra. A couple of weeks ago, we had a riot at Ibrox, people saying up the Ra and fuck the Pope. So do you also condemn or homegrown sectarianism as much as you do imported sectarianism? And
yes,
also,
of course.
And
yes.
also, you spoke about cohesive communities. I listened to Thomas Kerr's speech. He talked about deporting scumbags, a people's army, ready for battle, man the barricades. We're not here to be friendly. We're not here to be part of the consensus. We're here to rip it up. Do you not think that when people are as angry as you say they are, that kind of language, militaristic language, could be dangerous and inflame tensions rather than build cohesive communities?
I've used the phrase people's army for a very, very long time, and we are a people's army, but we're not armed with weapons, we're armed with passion in our hearts, all right? And that is our people's army. Those of us of a certain age have grown up with sectarianism in Northern Ireland politics and specimens of sectarianism in Scottish football. Luckily, fairly isolated, although punch-ups at Ibrox and fights have become quite a part of normal life. If that doesn't frighten you, I don't know what does. That is competing religions, and in some places, a competing view of the future of the island of Ireland. What I'm talking about, and by the way, the vast majority of Muslims in Britain want no part of any of this. Want no part of any of this. I'm talking about a willful attempt by bad actors who should be prescribed by law in this country, backed up unbelievably by taxpayer funding, that want to take over this country and turn it into something different. And if we don't stand up and fight, we'll jolly well lose. We're going to fight, I promise you. Okay. Kathleen Nutt from the Herald.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. A question for Mr. Farage first. You have ruled out an independence referendum for the next 10 years. You're saying that the focus should be on rebuilding Scotland over that period. So after 10 years, if things go according to your plan, when Scotland is more prosperous, as you say you want it to be, happier and healthier, would you, if you're Prime Minister at that point, grant an independence referendum? And my question for Malcolm Offord is, you talked a lot about your university education and about the importance of education. So would Reform commit to keeping university free for Scottish students, so there'd be no tuition fees for Scottish students? Thank you.
Look, the point I made was, people were promised here in 2014 that the referendum on separation from the United Kingdom was a once-in-a-generation thing. So, which would mean about 25 years, all right? But I can't predict for a moment what it will be. I very much doubt there will ever be a popular will or vote to break up the United Kingdom. All right? Simple as that. Uni?
On the university question, we have got ourselves into a position now where 50% of our young people have got an ambition to go to university, which is laudable and fine, so long as they have good careers coming out at the end of that. Now, I have to say, every barman I've met in Glasgow, Edinburgh's got a degree, and yet we're short of welders. Right, and I went to Babcock to see the big construction yard with the Royal Danish Navy wanting frigates to be made, and I was looking for Billy Connolly there with his blowtorch and his mask, and he wasn't there. I said, "Where's the welder?" And he said, "The chap at the corner there with a lab coat on a PC is welding to 1 to 100,000 precision." I said, "What does he get paid?" £75,000. Okay, and yet we've just brought in, because the SNP have cut funding to Fife College. We've just cut our welding school. We've just brought in 300 welders from the Philippines to work in Babcock. It's a national disgrace. We need to reorganise our young people around trades, around skills, around technical jobs, and yes, there's room for university in that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's go to Simon Johnson from The Telegraph.
Thank you. You've released your constituency candidates this afternoon for the election, Nigel, and they include a couple of former SNP people. What would you say to claims that you are soft on the union? And to Malcolm, well, it includes a couple of former SNP people, I'm just saying that as a matter of fact. And Malcolm, what is Reform's position on keeping SNP freebies like prescriptions and university tuition? Thanks.
Look, people can be something and change their minds, and we in Reform welcome sinners that repenteth.
So, on all the freebies, I said in my speech that in the last 10 years, SNP have created a welfare economy And they had a mandate to do that. They had a mandate to do that, and that's how they chose to spend their money. And if you look at the spending departments in the last 10 years, the department that's got the highest spending per annum is welfare, 15% per annum. And one of the lowest spending departments is the police at 3% per annum, which tells you how choices have been made. So my view on this is we need to grow our economy. So when we talk about we're spending 120 and raising 90, let's grow the 90, and then we'll have more money to spend on all the things that people want for free.
Okay, we're going to keep going with a couple more. Dan Sanderson from The Times, Scotland.
Hi, thanks very much. We've heard today that Glasgow is a city of lawlessness and anarchy. I was just wondering if you could say a bit more about how reform would restore order, and in particular the Scottish Police Federation has called for more access to guns for police officers and for them to be routinely equipped with tasers. Is that something you would support? Thanks.
So on Glasgow, as I said, I've been out on the main streets of Glasgow, and it's not a pretty sight. And the fact is, we should not blame the police. They're underfunded, they're overstretched, and indeed that needs to be looked at. I think we have, as I say, we have a record amount of spending in Scotland, 120 billion. Do you know that in 25 years, when this Parliament started, the spending for Scotland was 34 billion. Today's 117 billion. On a compound annual growth rate, that is 5% growth per annum. That is not austerity. There has been no austerity in Scotland from Westminster. That is 5% annual growth in spending. It's just being spent in the wrong place. And we need to spend more on police, perhaps, and less on welfare.
I have to say, on the other side of the border, I feel very sorry for our police. They've got a hell of a tough job. They're being prioritised often into doing the wrong things. They're frustrated that the Crown Prosecution Service won't press anybody for shoplifting unless they've nicked more than 200 quid. They're facing increasing violence, and I personally believe, and I'll talk for England, not Scotland here, but I personally believe that police officers should all have tasers as a means of their own self-protection. I really, really do. Alistair Grant from The Scotsman.
Hi there, thanks very much. I think Malcolm Offord, you said the other day in an event that I think around 40% of Reform's Holyrood candidates had been members of the Conservative Party. Is that correct? Is that the position? And if so, how is that offering a fresh voice in Scottish politics? And just on the manifesto, there's lots of bold statements in it, perhaps lacking some key details. For example, it says, shut down the Quangos, return their powers to democratically elected ministers. Which Quangos would you like to shut down? There's roughly 130. That includes health boards.
So the presumption should be the presumption should be to shut them all to begin with until we find out which ones can justify the resistance. Now here's the thing. There's a democratic deficit going on here now in Holyrood, where ministers are no longer accountable for key public services because they're shielded by Quangos. Okay? Now there's 23,000 civil servants working in Quangos, and there's 29,000 civil servants working in the civil service with a massive overlap. It is not unreasonable to say that we should bring those together, rationalise it, make it more accountable to Holyrood. I don't see that is a very controversial thing to say. And as far as...
I'll deal with that. Well, I can't win, can I? I mean, I'm being attacked for former SNP people standing for us. Now I'm being criticised for former Conservatives standing for us. And if they've never stood for anybody else before, you'll say they're all inexperienced. I mean, what am I supposed to do? What I will say, though, seriously, what I will say, is it's not surprising that quite a few people who've battled hard inside the Conservative Party in Scotland to try and turn it round into sensible positions have given up the ghost. And if you want any election predictions, it will be that the Conservative Party in Scotland on May the 8th will be all but obliterated. And you know what? They thoroughly deserve it. I'll do one more. Craig Patton from the Press Association. That's the last one I can take, folks. I'm sorry, we're timed out. Last one.
Thanks very much. Just to follow up on Alistair's point,
Malcolm, if the position is, and you said this last week as well in an event that I was at, if the position is to scrap every single Quango and then make the decision on which ones you need, how do you think that all of these, however many thousand civil servants are going to come back? Why would you come back to work if you've just been laid off at a moment's notice for no reason whatsoever? And to Nigel, just on the situation around observances in Trafalgar Square, is your position that all sort of these mass religious observances should be banned?
Yes.
All of them, including Jewish mass observances, Catholic mass observances.
I've never
Protestant
seen.
mass observances.
I've never seen Jewish services taking place in places of historic Christian worship or anywhere else. Look, we have to get this right. We can't stop individuals praying. We wouldn't want to stop individuals praying. But mass prayer is banned. Mass Muslim prayer is banned in many Muslim countries in the Middle East itself. So yes, we have to stop this kind of mass demonstration, provocative demonstration in historic British sites, because that's what it is.
Just briefly on the Quangos, we've got 132 Quangos costing £6.5 billion. The National Information Commissioner Hamilton has just said he doesn't know what they're all doing, what they're all doing. When you say they get back to work, will they come back to work? The question is, who's actually in the office anyway? I think we need to look at how we rationalise this in a professional way. And here's the thing, we're going to grow the private sector. We're going to go 2 million people who work in the private sector. We're going to make wages better in the private sector. And if there's dislocation in the public sector, there'll be good jobs to be had in the private sector instead.
Okay, can I ask all of it? I can't do any more questions. I know there were more. I've taken a lot. Can I ask all of the candidates that are standing for us in the Scottish Parliament to come and join Malcolm and myself on stage? Please. Get your copy. I've got a little plan for the end.
Yes. Very good.
Just us. Okay, spread round. They're coming in both sides. Very good. Well, I wanted you all to get a look at the men and women who are putting their heads up over the parapet. Some of them are sinners from the SNP, others from the Conservative Party, and some are complete political virgins. But either way, we're very, very grateful to all of you for doing this, and we are going to make, are we not, the most enormous noise up to May the 7th and do amazingly well. Very, very good. Right, well that...
Still coming up.
I know.
A
lot of them. So I want to say to all the delegates that have turned up today for this conference, there will be many, many meetings opened out to the public, as I've been doing in England for the last week. I will be back in Scotland many times during the month of April to support this campaign. I thank all of you for coming today. I thank you all for being part of the People's Army. Let's go do this, and thank you very much indeed. Very, very good. Very, very good. Right, just hang on a second. We're not finished yet. We're not quite finished yet. Listen, I don't think we are. You've got to hold that up. Everybody with a manifesto, hold it up. Some more copies there. There we are. Yeah, very good. Hey! That picture's amazing. Great stuff. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
That's a bit of fun.
Sky's a place to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. Pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do.